We're looking at practice test 7 today, the math calculator section, only heart of algebra questions, and there are 11 of them. Number 5. Which of the following ordered pairs x, y satisfies the inequality 5x minus 3y is less than 4? So let's plug in these coordinates, 1 and 1. 5 times 1 is 5, minus 3 times 1, so 5 minus 3 is 2, which is less than 4, so coordinate number 1 checks out. Number 2, 2 and 5, the 2 goes here, the 5 here. 5 times 2 is 10, minus 15 is negative 5, which is less than 4. Number 2 checks out. Number 3, 3, 2. 3 goes here and 2 goes here. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6, so we have 15 minus 6, which is 9. 9 is not less than 4, so 3 is no good. This brings us to choice C, 1 and 2 only. Number 9. 9ax plus 9b minus 6 is equal to 21. Based on the equation above, what is the value of ax plus b? The first thing we might notice is that these first two terms both have a common factor, 9. We can factor that out and change it to 9 times the quantity ax plus b. Why would we do this? Because that's what we want to eventually solve for. So then we can add 6 to both sides, and we have 9 times the quantity ax plus b is equal to 27. When we divide by 9 on both sides, we end up with 27 divided by 9, which is 3. Choice A. Number 11. A software company is selling a new game in a standard edition and a collector's edition. The box for the standard edition has a volume of 20 cubic inches, and the box for the collector's edition has a volume of 30 cubic inches. The company receives an order for 75 copies of the game, and the total volume of the order to be shipped is 1,870 cubic inches. Which of the following systems of equations can be used to determine the number of standard edition games S and collector's edition games C that were ordered? The first equation we'll write is 20S, which we get 20 per standard edition, and 30 per collector, so plus 30C, is equal to the total volume of the order, 1,870. Secondly, if there are 75 copies of the game, that means standard plus collectors is 75. And if you notice, none of these match up exactly, especially with this equation. We could try to manipulate this equation, but we could also notice that A is the only choice that has 20S plus 30C equal to 1,870. Well, A is the right answer. The other thing you might notice is if we subtract S from both sides, we get C is equal to 75 minus S, which matches this top equation also. 14. In the figure above, what is the value of x? The interior sum of the angles is, for any polygon, can be found with the formula 180 times n minus 2. Given that this is a four-sided figure, we can plug a 4 in there, and 4 minus 2 is 2 times 180 is 360. That's the sum of the interior angles. So 45 plus 3 times x, because x shows up 1, 2, 3 times, is equal to 360. I subtract 45 from both sides, I get 3x is equal to 315. When I divide by 3, I get x is equal to 105. D. Number 16. If a minus b is equal to 12 and b divided by 2 is equal to 10, what is the value of a plus b? If I start with b over 2 is equal to 10, and I multiply both sides by 2, I find out my value for b, which is 20. If I plug that into a minus 20 is equal to 12, I can figure out my value of a, which is 32. If I add together a and b, 32 and 20, I get d, 52. 17. The equation above models the total cost y in dollars that a company charges a customer to rent a truck for 1 day and drive the truck X miles. The total cost consists of a flat fee plus a charge per mile driven. When the equation is graphed in the xy plane, what does the y-intercept of the graph represent in terms of the model? Well, our total cost has two parts, a flat fee plus a charge per mile. This keyword per means we're talking about slope. So in fact, that's going to be the 150x. And that leaves $19.99 as the flat fee. That's why the answer is A. 25. The table above gives the typical amounts of energy per gram expressed in both food calories and kilojoules of the three macronutrients in food. If X food calories is equivalent to K kilojoules of the following, which best represents the relationship between X and K? You might notice from this table, as we go from the food calories column over to the kilojoules, we're multiplying by about 4. That can rule out choice A, and we see B, C, and D all have this value, which is 4.2. And D is set up wrong, so we're down to either B or C, and that just comes down to which variable goes where. They tell us the equation should be X is equivalent to K. And if I look at my table, which one is larger? The kilojoules is larger. So to get the food calories to be equivalent, I'll have to multiply it by something, about 4.2. That's why B is the best answer. 26. Same scenario. If the 180 food calories in a granola bar come entirely from P grams of protein, F grams of fat, and C grams of carbohydrate, which of the following expresses F in terms of P and C? So my initial equation will be 4P, representing the protein, plus 9F for fat, plus 4C for carbohydrate, is equal to 180. That's the sum of all the total food calories. I want to set up my equation so that F is all by itself. So I'm going to subtract the protein and the carbohydrates from the left side. And when I combine terms on the right, you may notice that P and C have a common factor. A negative 4 is applied to both. So we will take that negative 4 outside of the parentheses and leave P plus C inside. This still distributes the negative to both terms. The last step is to divide all terms by 9. This leaves us with F is equal to 20 minus 4/9 times P plus C, which was choice B. This problem begins by recognizing that the line passes through the origin. This tells us there's no y-intercept, because the y-intercept is 0. So the only part of the equation that matters is the slope. If I consider this point 3, 6, notice I rise 6 and I run 3. So my slope is 6 over 3, which is just 2. Because my slope is 2, my y-coordinate is always going to be double my x-coordinate. Or another way of writing this, x, 2x. They want to know the ratio of t to s. So if I'm considering s comma t, what they're asking for is the ratio of this part of the coordinate to this part, which is a 2 to 1. C. Number 32. Line T is shown in the xy plane below. What is the slope of line T? So we can choose any two coordinates we want. I might choose these two because the y-coordinates both have fifths. And it becomes 3/5 minus a negative 27/5 divided by 9 minus a negative 6. Simplifying this, the two negatives become positive for both, so we're adding. 3 plus 27 is 30/5, and on the bottom, 9 plus 6 is 15. Well, 30/5 can be reduced. That gives us 6 over 15. These two numbers have a common factor. They both share a 3. So if we divide by 3, we end up with 2 over 5. 33. The score on a trivia game is obtained by subtracting the number of incorrect answers from twice the number of correct answers. If a player answered 40 questions and obtained a score of 50, how many questions did the player answer correctly? I can set up my equations such that 2x, meaning a positive 2 for every correct answer, minus a 1y, or a subtraction of 1 for every wrong answer, gives me a score of 50. And the total number of correct and incorrect when added together is equal to 40. Since my y coefficients are both 1, and 1 is a positive and 1 is a negative, I can add all three columns straight down. So this gives me that 3x, and the y's cancel out, is equal to 90. When I divide both sides by 3, I get x is equal to 30, and x represented the number of questions answered correctly, which is what they asked. So the answer is 30.